Hey everyone, welcome back for another 1/6 scale unboxing and review. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the God of Thunder himself, Thor from Avengers Endgame. This is the second in the trio of main Marvel heroes from Endgame that I'm unboxing. First one being Iron Man and now Thor, which you can guess who the next one will be. But I'm excited to get into this one, so let's start off by taking a closer look at the box. So if you've seen any other in-game reviews or unboxings, you know that the box design and layout is similar with each in-game figure. Specifically, this one has a large image of Thor blended in with the Avengers A logo, and you can see they added some lightning shooting down towards Stormbreaker. Now, Stormbreaker does extend to the side of the box, and on each side you have Thor's name, and they also added a little touch to the top and bottom. You have on the bottom the Avengers A logo, and on top uh, Thor's weapon or hammer, Mjolnir. And then on the top and bottom of the boxes, you have Thor's name and the Avengers in-game logo. And then, of course, on the back, you're going to have all of your trademarks and warnings. Now, if we slip off this outer cover, it reveals Thor in the inner box. And I'm going to get him out of the box so we can take a closer look. Now we have Thor out of the box in his plastic tray, and you can already see there are a ton of accessories that are included with this in-game Thor. If I pop off the top plastic cover, we get a little bit better look at Thor. He is definitely very thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull everything out and get them laid out on the table so we can take a closer look at all of the accessories. So now I have all of Thor's accessories laid out onto the table. And you can see that most of this space is taken up by the different lightning effects that they included, which is pretty awesome. And I can't wait to pop those on the figure and show you. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to add these batteries to the appropriate pieces. And then I'll take you through all of these items. And I'm praying that I have a smoother time putting these batteries in than I did with Iron Man, because that was a struggle. Tiny batteries and unsteady hands are not a good combo. Starting with the base, we see the same in-game hexagonal base that came with Iron Man. The difference with this one being the color scheme and the Celtic symbol in the middle. They also provided a heavy-duty dynamic flight pole for our big boy Thor and a waist clamp, or maybe a thigh clamp, depending on how much this expands. We'll see. Overall, I really like this base, and I love that it's going to match the other in-game figures in my collection. Moving on to the lightning effect pieces, you will see all of them throughout the video, but we're just going to take a closer look at a few of them. They are made out of a translucent material. You can see that they're clear with a little bluish tint. Some of these attach to Thor's armor, while others are going to attach to his weapons. They look really good on his body, and they're going to look even better when he's illuminated with light, and you'll see what that looks like in just a little bit. So Hot Toys in total added 5 sets of sculpted hands. One set is a closed fist, and that is currently on Thor. Then they added 2 slightly open fists, and these are for holding the various weapons that he has. You have sort of a relaxed hand, and then 2 hands that are outstretched, and this is Thor using his worthy powers to recall his weapons or his hammer. And just taking even a closer look, you can see there is a lot of detail in these sculpted hands, the different blemishes, wrinkles, veins. It's pretty good. It's crafted really well. I'm pretty impressed, actually. Now, there is a little bit of difference with the added wrist joints that Hot Toys provided. You have your normal wrist joint that can be moved or articulated, but they also gave just a fixed wrist joint. And I believe this is because of the weight of the hammer and Stormbreaker. They wanted to give the figure a little bit more strength in the wrist when the figure is holding the weapon. So you can always switch a hand out with this one, whichever one's holding Stormbreaker. That way you have a little bit more strength if you decide you want to go that route. Now, I did save the best for last. Let's take a closer look at the 2 different weapons, Stormbreaker and Mjolnir. Both of these are beautifully crafted, and they're extremely movie accurate. Starting off with Stormbreaker, you can see that the blade has a nice metal shine, a little chrome shine to it, and there's some different weathering added as well. There is also some gold paint in the middle section or in the grooves, And then you have some Nordic or Celtic writing inscribed on the side as well as the top. And then you have the wood-like handle, very nicely sculpted. And this is also a pretty large weapon. I wish I could, or I had the Infinity Stormbreaker just to show you the size difference. But this truly is a large weapon. It wouldn't be in-game Thor without this. Now, Mjolnir is also pretty shiny. You can see there is some weathering spots. You also have the very nice crafted handle and then a leather-like material for the hand strap. Now, both of these weapons do have a light up feature, which I'm going to show you right now. You can twist the handle for the hammer and push in the top of the axe, and you'll see that there's a bluish glow that illuminates the inside of each of these weapons, and it looks really awesome. I You really can't tell that well on camera as you can in real life, but it looks like there's like little clouds inside each of them, almost kind of like a cosmic universe emerging. But now that I've gone through all of the accessories, I'm going to get Thor out here so we can take a closer look at him. Now, starting off with the head sculpt, this is absolutely phenomenal. You can definitely see the likeness to Chris Hemsworth. I love all the details, the scar, the blemishes, the paint, the shading. I think it looks absolutely amazing. The sculpted facial hair is awesome. And then, of course, his sculpted hair, it just looks super good. Now, I've never been a big fan of rooted hair on my figures. However, I have seen some people do rooted hair for the Thor head sculpt, and it looks super good. So it's kind of making me want to get a rooted hair head sculpt for my in-game Thor. But overall, this is a phenomenal head sculpt. Now, for the torso or chest area, we do have this thick armor piece with a lot of different detail and depth to it. Now, these little circular pieces can be removed, and you can add those lightning effects that we saw earlier in the video, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But I really like the design of this. Now, for both arms, you have this nice long black sleeve with the diamond texture pattern, a little bit of shine to it, and then each wrist has a wrist guard, which is really nicely detailed. Now, I really like the design of these pants. There's a lot of detail and a lot of design going on here. There's also a lot of padding in the pants as well as the rest of the body. They're really trying to beef this Thor up because that's how he was in Endgame. The boots are split cut and they're also nicely sculpted. There's a lot of detail at the bottom of the boot. Now here's what the backside of Thor looks like. You can see that there's the battery compartment hidden underneath the cape. Now for the cape itself, there is a inner design on the inside, which is pretty neat. And for the other side, we have a nice little pattern that runs along each side. There's no wires in the cape, so you can't do any dynamic posing, but it does flow very nicely. Now for articulation, starting off with the head, there is good movement forward and back, side to side, and you can rotate it a lot farther than you would think. A lot of people think that the hair would limit the mobility, but there is still a good amount of range. With the arms, you get a 90-degree extension on ratchets. Then you do have a 90-degree bend at the elbow, and then your regular wrist joint for your hand. There is no ab crunch. You get a little bit of rotation at the hips, but all of this is just one big piece. So not really any forward or backwards movement with the chest or torso area. Now for the legs, the pants do prevent a lot of movement. Plus all the padding, it just really is difficult to get good articulation out of the legs. You get a little bit of extension to the side and a little bit forward and backwards. There is a small amount of thigh swivel and a double bend at the knee. However, because of the material, you're only going to get 90 degrees. The boot is split cut, so you have all of that movement for the boot. Overall, the articulation on this Thor is pretty minimal, but we'll see what we can do with the different poses. So now let's get into the next final part of the video where I'm going to pose him up and just give my final thoughts. So now that I've had a chance to unbox, play with, and pose in-game Thor, my final thoughts are pretty positive. I really do like this figure, but there are some complaints that I have. The biggest complaint, I think, is the lack of articulation. Basically, the outfit really prevents this figure from getting some really awesome poses. I feel like it's a struggle to really get him into anything dynamic, and that's pretty unfortunate. I don't know how they could have gone about it to help with that, but I think they could have maybe put in a little bit more work to get a little bit more movement out of this figure. Is it going to break it for me? No. Uh, I still love this figure and it's an absolute must in my collection. But that would have been nice if there could have been some more articulation with this figure. So one of the other issues that I've noticed is it's pretty difficult to get Thor to stand on his own without the assistance of the base. So that's kind of frustrating. I don't know if it's the shape of the boot or just the overall weight of the figure, but either way, it was a struggle to get him to stand on his own. Another issue is the weight of Stormbreaker. It's pretty heavy and it definitely weighs down his arm. So when you're trying to pose him, you can start to see that droopiness start to occur after a little bit. So that's kind of unfortunate as well. And honestly, the only other issue that I had with this figure is attaching some of the lightning effects and removing specifically like the black caps from his chest piece. It was extremely difficult and it took a lot of prying to get it out. I wish they would have maybe just used magnets or maybe an easier way to remove or place them on. Again, not the biggest issue, but it's always something that you have to keep in mind when you're posing this figure, messing around with it. Now, with all that said, I still believe that this is an amazing figure. The positives definitely outweigh the negatives. I know there's a lot of 1/6 scale Thors on the market, but the in-game version is top tier. The head sculpt is spectacular. The outfit looks amazing. All the added accessories, the lightning effects, the light up of the actual figure, the different weapons, Stormbreaker and Mjolnir, with all of that added to this figure, it is a must have. You have to have this figure if you want to complete your in-game collection and just alone for all of the added accessories. Again, obviously based on my channel, I'm not getting sponsored by anybody to promote these figures. I'm just giving my honest opinion. I really do think this is an amazing figure. So if you're on the fence, I would purchase it. But that's just me, do your own research, watch other YouTubers. But I really do love this 1/6 scale in-game Thor. So that pretty much wraps this video up. I'm glad you guys were able to join in and watch me do this unboxing and review. I had a lot of fun. I always have a lot of fun with these figures. Honestly, it's because I'm buying the figures that I want to unbox. And so obviously I'm going to be excited about them. But this truly was an awesome unboxing and review. I'm going to have more videos coming out in the future, so stay tuned for those. Like always, thank you for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one.